Recently, I asked all of you to drop your questions down below, and that's what this video is going to be about. I am going to be answering you, the viewers' questions about everything to do with the Boston Bruins or whatever you've asked in the questions. There's around 16 of them, so let's get into it. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. Disclaimer, yes, I am wearing something different than most of the video. I actually recorded all of this previously with the other video, and then when it edited it all together, the video was over an hour. So I decided not to do that to everybody, and I've cut it up into two separate videos. So you got to watch the line combinations video before, now we're going to get into the questions. Just in case it looks a little weird that my shirt changes. That brings me to the questions. I was on vacation last week, and I asked you, the viewer, to drop your questions down below and try something different here. And so these are something that I do with my members videos where I ask everybody to ask me some questions and I don't look at them first. So all I did was like them, put them away so I don't see them. And I try and go from the hip here and just answer your questions just by not even looking at them, not even prepping, just walking in and seeing what the question. So my first question is from AC8274. What is your opening day lineup as when you make this video, lines and D pairs? Well, I hope I just answered that in the previous part of this video. So if you don't think I did it well enough, you let me know down below. But that wasn't just a question I've been asked a million times. There's pretty much been asked in that in the last 5 or 6 videos. Everybody's been asking that question. I totally get it. With the season coming up, we want to look at what we have in the future. So I hope I answered that question in the last video. Next question is from Northern Wilderness Adventurer. Who is your dark horse to make the team at a camp this year? I think my dark horse is Bluml to make the team out of camp. I don't know much about him. All I know is, Pastrnak made the call to have him come for this team. He could start the year in Providence. Him and Luch Mellis, I think, are the dark horses to make this hockey team. Bluml has a ton of offensive potential. He just was getting starved in Dallas because there was no room in that top 6. There is room in the top 6 of the Boston Bruins, and I think it's that right side. Victor Arvidsson only has a year left on his deal, so I don't think he's a lock to be that second-line right winger. So, you know what? Bluml could have that third line. He could be on that second line. Same with Potra or Luch Mellis. I think there's, between those 3 guys, one of them is going to make this opening night roster. Are the McDavid rumors true? Honestly, this one's kind of funny. I think it's very interesting. I think this all stems from Elliot Freeman's comments on 32 Thoughts, the podcast, not too long ago. He mentioned the Boston Bruins are saving cap for next year. Yes, they've got $2 million in cap right now, just a little bit over that. I don't know how much they're saving. When I look at Puckpedia right now, Lindholm, Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, Tanner Jano, they're all locked up to 29-30. So is Charlie McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov. Every one of them is all locked up, and so is Jeremy Swayman to 29-30 as well. They have, in their forward group, $45 million in committed cap for next season. They don't have that much room going into next year. It's not. I was very confused by his comments. Right now, they have $2 million in cap. Next season, they're going to have $19 million in cap, but you're still going to have some spots. And then the previous year, it's $48 million, $56 million, because the cap does go up. I just don't know if these big potential free agents for next year are even going to be available, but I think that's what started this rumor about McDavid. McDavid most likely is signing with the Edmonton Oilers, but I want to ask honestly here, why would he sign with the Boston Bruins? One, it would cost like $15 to $16 million a year to pry him out of Edmonton because you're only going to be able to give him a 6-year deal because he's a Edmonton Oiler and the Oilers can offer him 7 with the new CBA. Why would McDavid want to come to a team that's in a retool/rebuild? It doesn't make any sense to me. If McDavid's goal is to win a Stanley Cup, and I truly believe it is, he's not signing with the Boston Bruins. I think he's signing with the Edmonton Oilers. I truly don't understand this rumor. And I don't think it's a rumor because Elliot Freeman never mentioned him by name. No insider has mentioned McDavid to the Bruins by name. It's been more sites or other YouTube pages that have ran with this and just started the speculation because they want clicks. That's just my opinion. There is no truth to this rumor of Connor McDavid being a Boston Bruin. I just don't see it. I don't even see Jack Eichel being a Boston Bruin. He's going to resign in Vegas. Next question. Walking Catastrophe 5547 asks, how long until Jano gets demoted and they bury that contract in the minors? I think, unfortunately, he'll probably play out the whole deal, I don't think they will bury him in the minors. Again, he's a very decent locker room guy. He's a decent bottom six guy. He's a guy a lot of teams want. So worst case scenario, the Bruins would never have to bury him in the minors. They would just trade him. His contract isn't, the AAV isn't bad. It's the length and the message that it sends when they signed him. It was my biggest issue with it. But I think Jano would get traded before they put him in the minors. Taylor starts off, sounds like not a question, but he says, love it when you go on with Evan on Bruins Rinkside, firing answers from the hip. Well, I'm doing that here. I love your videos for your updates with the quick 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. I'm glad you like the content. Question being, would you entertain the thought of having guests? He says guests, but I'm sure he means guests of yours doing a 45 to 60 minute pod. So oddly enough, I used to do a podcast for Bruins Diehards. I also used to do one back in the day for Black and Gold. I don't know if I have time to commit to a weekly podcast. Maybe in the future we'll have guests. I know I was speaking with other people that do podcasts, Evan as one. Some ideas of maybe doing some roundtables and such. Maybe I'll do some of those, but that would involve a lot of stuff behind the scenes to get that going, because this is more of a one-on-one, but it's not out of the question. It's just I don't think I can do a guest podcast all the time. I had been asked by PR firms. I got asked to have Phil Esposito on the show last season. Maybe in the future I'll do something like that. It is something I want to look into. I kind of want to get used to my daughter's hockey schedule next year and get that. When you commit to doing a podcast and doing guests, that's locking in dates and times. It makes it a little bit more difficult. As someone, I've been very experienced in the podcasting realm. So maybe in the future. Love the question. Dominic Tiano, friend of mine, asks, serious question that deserves your answer. Why does Bruins Media refuse to invite me on their podcast? Honestly, Dom, I answered this on the internet there, on the YouTube comments. I have no clue. If you want, I can reach out to them and ask, because for some reason, who knows why, but they'll ask me. But Dom definitely should be on Bruins podcast. He is my number one source for Bruins prospects or having conversations about the Bruins. Dom knows more than I'll ever know. Blaze Apollo asks, do you see the Bruins being in a position to draft McKenna or top 10 in general next June based off the roster as it is today? And I love your videos. Keep up the great stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Yes, I do. I think Bruins are a fringe playoff team. They're going to be a wild card spot. We watched the Islanders last year go from 11 to 1. So anything is possible. But if the Bruins aren't in the playoffs, yeah, they're going to be in on McKenna. But it's still, again, I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year because they won't have unless they have injuries again. But anything's possible. Marchie NHL asks, how much longer does Bruins GM have left, and what are some adjustments the Bruins could trade for this season? Well, he's got a 2-year term. He's got a 2-year deal. He's got this year and next year. As of right now, I think that's all he's got left, and I think that's all that Cam Neely's got left. I think their offseason is going to try and add scoring via the trade market. If they see that they can move either Middlestad or Zaka and bring someone in who can score, and then have either Potra, Lush Mellis, or somebody fill in that center position. Because I don't see James Higgins making the team out of camp. A lot of people keep talking about this. I still think it makes more sense for him to go to BC, light it up, and then come to the Bruins at the end of his season in BC and play the last couple games with the Boston Bruins this year. It will burn a year, but I think that's more likely of what's going to happen. I think the Bruins are going to look for help on the right side, on the back end, and they're going to look for scoring. But if they can't get it, they're not just going to make a trade for the sake of making a trade. They're going to make a trade to make the team better. But I think that's their goal this offseason. But with regards to the future, I don't see a huge future with Cam Neely and Don Sweeney. I see Zdeno Chara being brought in to have a much bigger role in years to come with the Boston Bruins. Keith N1X asks, I really want to see Bluml get a chance, and other young players, do you think they will? I do. As much as they signed a ton of guys to play the bottom six, a guy like Bluml, a guy like Potra, a guy like Lysell, they're going to play in the top six. If they play well enough in the preseason, they're going to make this team. Potra's an example. He's made the team out of camp the last 2 seasons. It's not to say these kids won't make the team out of camp. And I in the previous part of this video, I predicted Matthew Potra to make this team and be your second-line right winger. So I do think guys like Bluml will get a chance. Providence, though, is going to have a very good team next year. Plain and simple. I think they're going to be fast. They're going to score a lot of goals. And depending on who their goalie is, they're going to have a good year. So I think that's one thing to look at it. But yes, I think guys like Lysell, Potra, and Lush Mellis will have a lot better chance, and they will get a lot more chances to come in and out of the lineup because I think the Bruins have no other choice at this point. There's no aspirations that they're a Stanley Cup contender. So I hope, I truly, 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 truly hope the Bruins seriously let these kids play. Because last year, it kind of pissed me off. You had guys playing great down in Providence. The team's playing terrible, yet they don't call them up. They might not have called them up because they didn't want to bring him into how bad the Bruins were. They didn't want to bring him around that environment. But it's a new team, new look, new era in Boston. Let's treat it as so. Dominic Jano is back again. With Sportsnet Plus virtually making watching hockey unaffordable, do you plan on live streaming games? Well, yes. Sportsnet Plus is how I watch games out here in Canada, and they've done a $75 to $80 price hike on their cost, and that's because you also get baseball, you get basketball, you get all these sports that I don't watch. I only watch the hockey, but to get a Bruins game out here, that's the way I have to do it. We don't get the NHL app, which I used to love because you get the home and away. I'm going to look into streaming games or using an IPTV, which is unfortunate at this. Sportsnet's kind of put themselves in this predicament. There's no reason for this price hike except greed, in my opinion, because they're not offering a better service than what we previously had with the NHL app through Rogers. It's so confusing, the Sportsnet Plus, because we don't really get much for it. I don't get to choose the home and away games, so I don't necessarily always get the home announcers from the Boston Bruins. And a lot of the times, if they're playing the Ottawa Senators, they black out the game because they're only giving me the Senators feed, and TSN blocks it out in the Toronto area. So I can't even watch it when they play the Senators, so I have to go look for feeds. So yes, I'm looking into alternatives because Sportsnet, they suck. 10 Shots asks, if the Bruins are going to target McKenna at next year's draft, do you think they'll afford to have a down year tank fully? If so, will they likely lead to Sweeney and Neely being out the door? I don't think what they did last year, I wouldn't necessarily call it a tank. I think they traded away, and it is what it is, and they went with it. When they traded Marchand, they traded all those ways. So yeah, they made a choice that they were going to try and get into the top 10 in the NHL draft. Yes. I don't know what more you can do with this team given the contract situations. I think guys on this club, if they're still bad again, closer towards the trade deadline, are they going to move guys? Yeah, but you're going to move guys like Casey Middlestad. You're going to move guys like Pavel Zacha. You're still not going to move guys like McAvoy or Pasternak or Swayman. That's just not going to happen. The Boston Bruins are never going to go in full rebuild. That's just not something they're going to do. The Jacobs just won't. They won't make money. Especially next year. They got New Jersey. It's more money. They've got the outdoor game that they're going to be playing in the Stadium Series that's in Florida or Tampa, sorry. It's still the state of Florida, but you know what I meant. But I don't see them in full tank mode. I just don't see it. I think anybody can get first overall as long as you're in that top 10 range. The Bruins will be fighting for a wild card. I've said this over and over again. Unless, barring injuries, it kind of was the reason the Bruins got put in their predicament was injuries last season. As long as they stay healthy, the Bruins aren't going to be as bad as we all think, including myself. They could surprise us. If Swayman stands on his head and the defense plays above their game, the Bruins could be a top 3 in their division. I'm not saying they're going to be, but I would love McKenna. But as of right now, I have no aspirations that the Bruins are going to be drafting him. And as for the GM and the president being fired, I think the clock is on. I think Zdeno Chara being part of this organization is no secret. We don't know what he does, but if we watch Behind the B, he was there on draft day. He was there on trade deadline day. They're using him. He is going to be more front office focused over the next couple of years. They are grooming him to take one of these jobs. I don't know which one. Heck, I don't even really know what he does. I know he talks to players, but he seems to be around on a lot of big decisions. So we'll see. But yeah, I just don't see a huge future with Cam Neely and Don Sweeney anymore. And Don Sweeney, people are going to lambaste me for this. He's not as bad a GM as everybody keeps saying he is. I think Bruins fans, we've been spoiled over the years, so we just don't understand, and we get frustrated. But there's a lot more franchises that have had a lot more hardship. Just, we've made the playoffs so many years. Yeah, we didn't make it last year, but we've had a lot of success in Boston besides Stanley Cups. At Yeti asked, which veteran free agent gets a Bruins camp invite this year? Love this question because it happens every year. I said it before. I think maybe Grizzly, just because who he is. If he's not signed with anybody, he lives in the local area. He's an easy camp invite. Yeah, you let him go out there and you see what he can do. But he plays the left side, and they're pretty stacked on that left side. It's very interesting because I don't see a lot of players that are left that are free agents or vets that might be guys that the Bruins want. I think they've got so much youth that this is the year they don't invite anybody or shouldn't, because they have spots they need to be filled by these kids that were playing in Providence. Providence was a good hockey team last year. They should reward these kids. That's just my opinion. And then when I look at the right side D, I'm here on Puckpedia right now, because right side D is what you need. There's not much out there. Savard is retired. Yanni Ruta, I wouldn't say that's a Bruins invite. Travis Hominick, I believe he just signed somewhere or he's retiring. I think he retired. Eric Johnson, like, Jesus, 37 years old. Whew. Robert Bertuzzo, 36 years old. Yanni Hakanpää. Like, I don't see much out there for the Bruins to invite this year for training camp, and I would much rather them let some of these kids from Providence try out for this team than some vet that's, not going to make the team. Michael Davidson, 3055, asks, who will have the biggest surprise breakout this season? Well, last year it was Morgan Geekie, right? It's almost like who do I want instead of who will, because I think it's tough. I think Matthew Potra, if he makes this team and he is in the top 6 like I think he's going to have a huge year. He's going to get a lot of great minutes. But the guys that I kind of want to have a breakout season would be Casey Middlestat or Jeremy Swayman, for that matter, because I think in order for this Bruins team to have success, these two players need to be some of your best players. We know the top line of Geekie, Lindholm, and Pasta is going to be fine. We need more from Casey Middlestat. We need him to be one of the best players on the ice for the Boston Bruins. And we need Jeremy Swayman to be one of the best players. But I also think a guy like Mason Lohrei will have a lot better year, and people are going to harp on him less, and they're probably just going to like his offensive potential. But between Lohrei, Swayman, Potra, or Middlestat, those are the guys that I think will have breakout years. If everything goes well, it's kind of crazy. I guess Swayman's already had his breakout year, so I'll take him off the list. But I really want Potra to have that year. I really want him to stick it out with this hockey club. I really want him to be that guy. But I have a weird feeling that Casey Middlestat is going to get you 15 goals this year, and everybody's going to be happy with him. He's going to get you 15 goals, maybe 40 points as second-line center for the Boston Bruins. So I think he's going to be at the end of the year, I guess, the seventh player award. I'm giving it to Casey. I think the early favorite for me is Casey Middlestat. Just makes sense. Even though the fans are probably going to vote Tanner Jano just because he's going to fight a bunch of people. But I think Casey Middlestat, that's the guy. James J. 3986 asks, what are your thoughts on the Bruins pursuing a big free agent in 2026? I think I read about Elliot Freeman bringing this up. Yeah, Elliot Freeman, I spoke about it before. He mentioned that the Bruins are saving money for next year. I mentioned in the numbers that there's not much money there. It's not that there's not much money, because there is. $19 million is nothing to shake a stick at. I think it's these players, okay? So I'm going to pull up on Puckpedia. Right now, it's Connor McDavid, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Panarin, Necas, Ovechkin. He's going to retire at the end of the year, and he's going to play in the KHL. Adrian Kempe, that's the guy I would love the Bruins to go after. Centerman, unbelievable. Kopitar, Alex Tuck, Nick Schmaltz, Patrick Kane, Kirill Kaprizov. Sounds like Kaprizov is signing in Minnesota. Andres Lee, Matt Zuccarello, John Carlson, Malkin, who's retiring at the end of the year, Claude Giroux, Jamie Benn, Jaden Schwartz. I think Benn and Giroux retire at the end of the season. Mason Marchment. Well, that's an interesting one. Yes, all these guys are UFAs at the end of the year. Connor McDavid re-signs with the Edmonton Oilers. Jack Eichel re-signs with the Vegas Golden Knights. They've mentioned it over and over again with the whole Mitch Marner thing. They spoke to Eichel before making that trade. You don't speak to a guy and then let him walk. I think no doubt in my mind that both Eichel and McDavid are off the board. Kyle Connor is a very interesting one. He's making $7.1 million. He got 41 goals last year, 56 assists, and 97 points. I would think that the Winnipeg Jets are going to do everything in their power to sign this kid. If he's available and you're the Boston Bruins, go after him. But I think a lot of teams over the past couple of years keep saying they're going to try and fix their team in free agency, and no one goes to free agency. I think Kyle Connor has a better chance because we saw it with Nikolai Ehlers last year in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's really cold. But, we'll see. Maybe Connor hits the free agent. Panarin, I don't see why the Rangers don't re-sign him. He's at $11 million. He got you 37 goals, 52 assists. The Rangers, people love playing there. I think he re-signs Panarin. Or people have a field day trying to sign him. But Kyle Connor is a possibility. He's a left shot. He plays left wing. That means you move Geeky down to the second line. That's not a bad thing. I think Kyle Connor, or they could have just drafted him in 2015. And then there's Martin Necas. I don't think Necas does sign in Colorado, but I think he gets dealt sometime this year. It sounds like he doesn't want to be there, which is very interesting. Something about Nathan McKinnon, but we'll see about that. I think the Bruins will definitely be interested in Necas. I would love to see him in a Boston Bruins uniform. Sure, they're going to go after these guys. Kempe and Kopitar, I think, probably retires. So Kempe will probably resign in LA. It sounds like they want to get a deal done. They're just far apart right now, but that can always happen. Alex Tuch is a very interesting one. He probably will test free agency because not many people seem to want to stay in Buffalo. But he's a right winger, right? Nick Schmaltz. I don't think that the players that everybody keeps talking about, the Kirill Kaprizovs and the McDavids and the Eichels, they just won't be there. So your free agent pool will kind of be like this year where it wasn't as big as everybody thought it was going to be because these guys re-sign. With the cap the way it is and it keeps continuing to go up, it's easier for these teams to re-sign guys. It's easier for them to re-sign their fourth liners and such as well. We're going to see less movement of players and less big guys being available. Sure, the Bruins are going to have money available, but I just don't know what the options are going to be. If I had to wager a guess, your two biggest names next year were going to be Kyle Connor and Martin Necas. But I think the rest of the big names, they're all going to be off the board. They're all going to be re-signed. That's just my opinion. So I don't think there's going to be much out there. Robert Giuliano, I hope I did that properly. He says, do you think the Bruins will win the cup with Don Sweeney as their general manager? No, I don't. I think that's a quick one. I just don't think they will because I don't think they're winning the cup this year, and I don't think they're winning the cup next year. Unless James Higgins comes in at the end of the year and he's lights out and he's like the next coming of Jack Eichel and like how Eichel was for Vegas. Maybe they could win a cup in the second year, but you're still going to need a lot of things to happen. The Bruins are going to need better defense because I think their second pair right side is just extremely weak. I think next year Florida is going to have a really good chance at three-peating. They're just that good of a team, but eventually that team is not going to be as good. But I think the Bruins, if I look at the length of Sweeney's contract was the next 2 years, no, I don't think the Boston Bruins are going to win the Stanley Cup in the next 2 years. Roxy YTP, who designed the logo for me, thank you very much again, awesome job, asks, which of the rotating players, Lysell, Bluml, Soderstrom, Potra, I totally forgot about Soderstrom. He might be your extra defenseman. Do you see being most likely to be successful in the lineup next season? I think I've answered this a couple times, but it's Matthew Potra. I think if he's in that top six role and he's playing the right side, I think he'll stick it out. It's less likely they have him at center. He can take draws when they need him because him and Middlestat could switch when they're on the strong side or a weak side, so on and so forth. Mind you, you'd have three centers out there, so you would always have someone who could take the draw. I just think it fits Potra more to at least break into the Bruins on the right side because I just don't see them having any room down the middle for him. And I think you can't keep a guy like him with his offensive potential down there. And if he doesn't work out, okay, then you move him and he'll go get a chance somewhere else because he needs to play in the top six and he needs to play next year. I think Lysell will start the year in Providence. I think Bluml will get a chance. I think Soderstrom will get a chance as well. And maybe he might be that guy. But I think Potra has the best chance. He says, maybe I'm cheating, but question 2. Should the Bruins fans hope, you're not cheating, by the way, hope for the team to make the playoffs or tank? He says, I'd say make the playoffs. We could finally see what Lindholm and Zadorov can bring in the playoffs. Players have consistently been better in the playoffs in their careers than in the regular season. Yes, Zadorov and Lindholm have shown when the going gets tough, they've both been a lot better. And I think that's a lot of the reasons the Boston Bruins brought them in. I wouldn't use the word either they tank or they make the playoffs. I think if they make the playoffs, they're going to be a wild card team. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think if they make the playoffs, the Boston Bruins will be a wild card team. If they don't make the playoffs, I think, like big time don't make the playoffs, I think it's because a lot of things went wrong. They had a lot of injuries, and the season got unraveled real quick. I just don't see with the way Marco Sturm coaches that that's going to happen. He's generates a lot of shots. Very defensive-minded coach, so I think the Bruins are going to be trying to slow other teams down, especially in that neutral zone, and clogging the zone and preventing a lot of break-ins and making a lot of teams chip and chase on the Bruins, which is fine. But I think the Bruins are going to be better next season, but not, Stanley Cup contender. I hope I answered everybody's questions. Thank you all. I'll do this again in another couple months or maybe leading up to the start of the season. Thank you for dropping your questions. Thank you for watching the videos. Honestly, without all of you, I wouldn't be doing this. I truly, truly, truly enjoy doing this. I hope you enjoyed the prospect profiles that I put up while I was away last week. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.